And a friend of Gershkovich told ABC News Evan had a slight unease about staying in Russia, but he felt that it was his duty to keep working and to tell the world what was going on. You can watch that full family interview with the Wall Street Journal at WSJ.com. Our thanks to Trevor Alt for his reporting. And the Justice Department is asking the Supreme Court to block a Texas judge's ruling restricting the use of the abortion pill, which is set to go into effect just after midnight tonight. Senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer and senior national policy reporter Ann Flaherty join me now, two experts on this topic. And Devin, I'll start with you. What does this latest move mean for the legal battle over medication abortions?
Hey, Ariel. Well, it means that the Justice Department and Danco Labs, which is the nation's largest producer of the abortion pill, are asking the Supreme Court for an emergency order to keep the status quo. Millions of women have been using the abortion pill for years. As you know, this court battle playing out in rapid time this week, and now it's down to the wire. At midnight tonight, just after midnight tonight, a series of restrictions on use of that pill will take effect unless the Supreme Court acts. So what are those restrictions? Well, in effect, it would mean that guidelines governing the use of the abortion pill would snap back to the year 2000. That would mean no generic use of the pill, no use of the pill after 7 weeks to end a pregnancy, no distribution of mifepristone, this drug, through the mail, and requirement that doctors only could administer it. 3 doctor's visits would be required for women who want to end their pregnancy using mifepristone. The government, in their brief that they just filed, Ariel, said this would create chaos across the country. It would upend the FDA's regulatory regime, and it could even endanger women because the guidelines for how much dosing should be used of mifepristone would, in effect, the government says, snap back to more than 20 years ago. They've since honed how much should be given to women. So all sorts of ancillary effects if this is allowed to take effect. And, of course, the Supreme Court could act at any time. They could not act at any time. We'll have to wait and see. It's down to the wire.
It's a wait-and-see situation right now. But, Devin, I want to touch on something you said and turn it to Ann now. 3 doctors would have to approve of this, Ann. And we know that there are many women in this country that don't have access to even 1 doctor, and that the fact that this drug will no longer be able to be mailed may affect women in rural communities the most. So what is the practical implication of what we're seeing now?
Right. So there are these practical impacts that we're going to see on the ground that abortion providers are already talking about. Everyone I've talked to says they're just confused at this point because, of course, we still have this order out of Washington that says the FDA has to keep this drug on the market and keep the status quo for at least 17 states. That's directly at odds with what the Fifth Circuit has ruled. So we have these 2 orders in direct conflict, and the administration is hoping that the Supreme Court will sort this out. We heard just moments ago from Danco Labs in their filing to the Supreme Court that one of the interesting side effects of all of this is going to be the mislabeling of the drug. They need to do whole new labels for this drug before they can send anything out. They warn that manufacturing could stop.
Devin, what are you seeing as the next steps if the Supreme Court decides to take this case? You said it's a wait-and-see game, whether they will, whether they won't. So if they take it up, what happens?
Well, all eyes on the case, Ariel, just to see if they'll issue a stay, a pause, either a temporary pause on these restrictions going into effect or a more fulsome pause as this legal battle plays out. We'll have to see if they act tonight. The Supreme Court could also choose not to act and to let all of this go into effect. We just don't know. A second question is, will the Supreme Court sort of swoop in and on an expedited basis take up this whole case and hear arguments on it this spring? We know Danco Labs wants them to do that. We will see if they address that tonight as well.
And, Ann, we got to get to this. Meanwhile, Florida Governor Ron Desantis signed a new 6-week ban on abortions in his state. How significant is that?
Yeah, so a really big impact there because you have most of the U.S. South now will become a solid block where abortion is not available. Worth noting that the Florida bill will not take effect for several weeks to several months from now. We don't know exactly when that will take effect. We're waiting on the state Supreme Court to weigh in on their existing 15-week ban. But once that takes effect, we know that most of the U.S. South will be a solid red without abortion access. And then politically, of course, the impact that you have a major presidential hopeful for 2024 who has put his stake in the ground saying he supports this very restrictive abortion law that's no doubt going to weigh into the 2024 debate for the president.
Everyone will be waiting to see how it does factor into the race. Ann Flaherty and Devin Dwyer, our thanks to you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.